Mia.
Good morning. Hey.
Morning.
What is your Monday mantra? Mia.
I love Monday. Mondays are the best for the new goals. And then the Karen comes.
Oh, by the way, Brigitta, your hair looks wonderful.
Oh,
thank you,
Jeannie. You're
Jeannie.
so full of bullshit. Jeannie said that before we started the recording. Well, thank you, Jeannie. And I'll tell you really why it looks so good, because Christian cut it on Saturday or on Sunday, sometime on Sunday. Yes, he cut it Sunday morning, and I think he did a fabulous job. So if everything else fails, Christian will.
He survived.
He can just cut hair.
If anything, how it proves that he did a good job, he survived. He's still streaming.
That's funny, and it's probably also true.
You think?
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Facebook wants me to give this thing a title. So we're recording, but we're still not live on Facebook. NLP Tribe, July. What is the 6th? Okay. And oh, crap. Bear with me. And this. Okay, finally, we're going live here. All right, welcome NLP Tribe. Super, super happy to be here with you on this Monday morning. We got Mia and we got Jeannie, and maybe some other folks are joining us via Facebook Live. How was your weekend, ladies?
Full of wonderful calories, and it was good. It was really relaxing, and in a way not as planned, I would say. I guess which was good in a way. It went in a different route than I laid out or planned out, as we had like unexpected guests. So it was really good, honestly. I always enjoy having people around, so for me it was amazing.
Yeah, Mia lightens up when there are people around, and I'm the same way. I love being around people. And Jeannie, how was your weekend?
My weekend was uneventful. I did drive down to the Lake Hartwell, South Carolina, for a brief moment to deliver some stuff to my niece, and then sat out on a deck at Tiger Cove on Lake Hartwell. I love it down there in Anderson, South Carolina. It's not far from you guys. I'm telling you, it's beautiful there.
We need to go. We might have to do our retreat there.
You know what? We're going to discuss that, because we may be able to do that. That may not be a bad idea.
Yeah, because we've been talking about the Carolinas for our retreat, or maybe the, hold on, sorry, the dog wants my attention. Maybe the East Coast, somewhere, Georgia. We'll see. Yeah, let's definitely discuss offline, Jeannie. So what I heard is I always prepare some talking points for our tribe call, and then we go in a different direction. And I think I just heard one of the directions that I kind of also intended to go to. We plan one thing, and then other things happen, and it is the way that we respond to it. We can either fight it and say, no, I don't want to do it this way. I planned it in a very specific way, and it has to happen in the way that I planned it. And that often causes frustration. It causes more struggle. It causes anxiety, maybe. It causes all sorts of emotions, right? But if we're allowed to let it go or to embrace it, Mia, what came up for you when you planned something, but then you planned the weekend, but then it happened differently? How did you embrace it?
So before, I would get really frustrated, and it will really get to me personally, where I would be so occupied thinking about it while I'm actually needing to be focused on other things like current work or client, or then I would that me not being focused at the current thing that I need to address, and then basically will add to additional frustration because I wouldn't be satisfied how I delivered the current present moment to myself, and it just will be keeping adding and adding. So it will result with basically not being able to sleep, resulting basically with anger and easily being irritated. Basically something, I think it would be safe to say, like a PMSing kind of a thing. Basically it wouldn't feel okay. And then after doing it the same way over and over again, I said, okay, I mean, also talking to you, I was like, okay, let me try to change it. Let me try then to embrace and try to be okay with it. So once I started doing that, I was able actually to enjoy the present moment. I was able to do actually more than the original planning, not in the time frame I did plan, but at least in a more acceptable time frame when you compare. And basically that would be for me regarding when I plan something but it doesn't turn out as planned. So sometimes I'm good with just going with the flow. So I think that most of the times where I just let it spontaneously happen, like immediately from beginning, I accepted the spontaneity. It was amazing outcome. However, when I have a hardcore, like I need to do this by then and then, I want to do this by then and then. Usually when it doesn't happen, I learned to accept it and just move on and give myself time.
Yeah, Jeannie, when Mia said all of those wonderful things, several things stood out to me, but what stood out to you? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts are, see, I know Mia works with you a lot. So she said before, and I had to laugh because my first thing that popped into my head was BB, before Brigitta.
That's a new term.
You taught me, so I just had to laugh to myself. I would be so rigid and like, oh, this outcome has to be this way. And now being able to be really flexible and be like, you know what, I am not attached to the outcome. Let's enjoy the moment and being present with whatever's right then and there, whether it's what I had planned or not. However, I've kind of been pretty good at flying by the seat of my pants, I will say that, unless I really had it like, no, it needs to go this way.
because there's a well-formed outcome and there might be a specific structure or routine. So what I'm really getting, and you said two words that I pointed out here as well, and Mia, you said one word, and actually there were one phrase. It was made out of two words, and I'm putting it in here as well. So we had flexibility, being unattached, right? There's the law of requisite variety again, and staying present. Because if we're not in the present moment, then whatever we prepared just flies over the people that we try to make a connection with, or really getting to the well-formed outcome that we might want to get, or whatever the scenario might be. But there's another word, and that is, and I'm going to put it in here, and that's balance. And the balance is of being enough prepared and having enough choices and words that we might want to use, or even a structure that we might want to use, or different structures that if we need to switch, and if we, you know, do a course correct, we're not lost. And that's what I've seen this in some of my clients, that they're so, as you said earlier, Jeannie, rigid. They're so rigid in their approach that if they go and talk to someone, that in their head they have already everything planned out, and they're not even able to listen to the person that they're having a conversation with, because in their head they already know what they're going to say. So it completely and utterly prevents them from what?
From being present and from going into like a flow. It's a flow in a conversation.
Exactly. And a good
Flexible.
conversation, yeah, a good conversation happens when you're able to listen. But if you already have everything planned out in your head, and you're thinking of, okay, what's the next, you know, smart thing I can say, then you're not listening. You're just waiting for someone to make a pause.
Basically, a perfect example would be like, for example, a student that is not able to understand the subject, so it memorizes everything from A to Z, and when the a teacher is asking, they're just blah 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 blah. I had an example from my school when our teacher was teaching us, basically a teacher from biology. She was teaching us, however, she was using her university books for high school. In a way, it was too complicated for my brain to comprehend all of that information. So it was my turn to basically talk about a certain subject she asked me in order to grade me. And she asked me, and as I didn't understand, I just learned everything memorizing just how my notebook goes, and that's how I'm gonna go with the flow. So I talked, and she's like, "Excellent, Mia, D."
And so, because I know this story, so what did that teacher actually do to you? I mean, internally.
Internally, I was honestly, I felt like confused at the beginning, like what did just happen. And the way her body language and facial expression with what she said, it sounded to me like, oh, she's so happy to give me a D. However, I didn't I guess throughout my education, I really had a really bad experience with a lot of teachers. So I developed a coping mechanism where it didn't got to me. However, I know some of the students that it will basically ruin their week, not just the day, the week, if they would get a comment like that, I would say. So. Right. As for me, as I said, that was like a perfect example when you are trying to predict, and when you are basically sticking to your prediction instead of, as Jeannie said, going with the flow, or basically being flexible or open for new. It's basically like driving and you're using a GPS to a new destination where you don't know where you're going, and GPS always offers you, hey, this is a new route, do you want this route, it's a similar ETA, or it's a shortcut, it's a 2-minute longer. I mean, you're flexible to click on any of those routes. However, it's up to you whether you're going to stick your primary that was offered once you basically put the destination in, or you're going to be changing and turning wherever you feel like in order to get to destination.
Great analogy. Yeah. Jeannie, what came up for you? Hey, Joshua.
Hey, Joshua.
So, yeah, listening to her, I mean, she already had prejudged. It didn't matter what Mia said. She had already prejudged, and and that happens quite frequently.
Yeah, and it can leave some scars, right? Because we gave it a specific meaning. When you calibrate it to her, Mia, you know, thinking, well, the way that she looks like, she's having fun giving me a D. So you made that mean something as well. Hey, Joshua, to fill you in real quick, we're talking about planning and then also being unattached. So often we plan and we, you know, we have a certain way that we want something to go. Maybe you have a great example from last week. We have like a predetermined outcome, a well-formed outcome, but then it might happen completely different. And we talked about, you know, staying flexible, being unattached, allowing ourselves to stay present, although it might not completely work out the way that we planned it, and creating that balance. So for the future, I really want everyone to, I want to encourage you to not take it on as a truth of, well, then I don't need to plan anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there must be a balance of planning, of being prepared, of having a well-formed outcome, and then being unattached of how you're going to get there. You know, Mia just mentioned the great analogy of a map and of how getting to your destination. Sometimes we have to take the detour. Sometimes we have to turn around or do a course correct. But there's that well-formed outcome that we're gearing towards to, and that we have a plan to get there. But it doesn't serve us to completely stick by the plan, because we might lose lessons along the way. We might lose relationships along the way that we're just not present to listening to. There might be many, many losses. And I think lessons and relationships are the two major losses that we could experience in that scenario. Tell me about more about that, Joshua, and what your thoughts are around that.
Yeah. No, so as you're you know, communicating that, I think it is the idea of, you know, having the flexibility to be in the moment, right, and being able to pivot in the moment, because sometimes, you know, that it's more important than the outcome that we expected. There are two stories come up for me. One is, I remember, you know, a while ago I was represented by Houghton Talent here in Atlanta, and I would go out on auditions, but I was, you know, kind of, I was moonlighting in a way, right? In the sense that I still had my career, which was my, you know, primary source of income. And then the auditioning and the acting work was just something that I did for fun. And because of that, I didn't have all of this added pressure related to having to be good in the audition, right? And the outcome of needing the work, right? And because of that, there was this sense of ease and relaxation and calm, and I actually performed better without that additional pressure, right? So that's kind of where this is going, is in the sense of, you know, as we create these pictures or these outcomes, right? If we're so adhered, right? If we're so rigid towards our perceived intent or the perceived outcome, then we're not flexible. We're not in the moment. We're not, there's this added pressure of having to be able to perform that actually inhibits us in a way, right? That can potentially, you know, prevent us from really being the full capacity of what it is that we can deliver. So I think that that's really important to understand. And for me, it's the balance of, you know, what you said, Brigitta, being prepared, right? And just having enough confidence, knowing deep within, yeah, I know my stuff. I know what it is that I'm here to do. I know what the outcome is supposed to be, but at the same time, releasing that and allowing it to flow and come naturally, as opposed to, oh, it's not working out the way that I expected it to, or I took a turn, or I said the wrong thing, or the audition didn't go the way that I wanted, or the interview didn't go the way that I wanted. So yeah, that's kind of what came to mind for me as you were saying that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Wow, that's a great analogy and great story. Because often, you said something that I wanted to add to that.
Rigid?
Yes, rigid, definitely. I'll actually, two stories come up for me. One is, my father was a missionary and a pastor, and he would go to you know, countries like Romania and Hungary, and he was one of the first pastors to travel to Saudi Arabia, and we didn't know if he was going to come back or not, but that's beside the story. He would prepare a sermon, and he knew his stuff inside and out, and he was a heart-centered man. I mean, he would give his last shirt off his back. And he would stand in front of people, and he would preach when he was in Hungary or in Romania, or other countries in that area. He would preach 2-hour sermons, sweat through his entire suit, and then turn around, go to another church and do that again. And sometimes he would go completely off script. Like, he would prepare a 2-hour sermon, but then he would preach on something completely different, because he had the ability to build immediate rapport and connection with the people that are in the room. And often there are people that are standing way outside the room, can't even really hear him, but just there to feel the energy that he brings out. But the point that I'm making here is that he was just able to really get what people needed and not have to drive his own agenda, but give the people what they really needed. And I think, you know, I see this with this tribe call as well. You know, checking in with folks, give you guys what you need. I love doing that. Like, I love to have that flexibility, and it hasn't always been that way. If you ask my mom, sometimes she watches, she tunes in. When I had Amelie, our firstborn daughter, I used to be very rigid, like very rigid. I had everything planned out. Like, from the moment that child woke up as an infant, you know, what we're going to do first and what she's going to eat for breakfast, like specifically how much apple we're going to, you know, grate into it, all the food that I'm cooking for her, you know, when she's having belly time on her sheepskin, and when we're going to baby swimming, and when we're going to do baby massage, and when we're going to do, I mean, it's exhausting just looking back going, holy cow, right? And then the second, you know, Anna came along, the second daughter came along, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is ridiculous. By the time, you know, then I've built a business, and I was like, something's got to give, and I've got to stay more present too, because it was just going from one point in the agenda to in the next, from one thing to do to the next, and not really staying present. And I had to learn that the hard way.
There's this idea that's coming to me. It's like, you know, as we plan, we're conceptualizing, right? As we, you know, we're strategizing, and we're trying to drive, you know, the outcome based on the way that we perceive it in our minds. And and that's great, having that format, having that foundational work laid gives you an idea of how to be able to navigate right towards that end goal. But if we remain there, then what we've done is we've pulled ourselves out of the moment. And it's where, when you're in the moment, is where you can find that natural flow that, you know, the situation might take you in a completely different direction, right? The conversation might go in a completely different direction. But if you're overly concerned with the way that it was playing out in your head, the likelihood of you not being able to find that flow and find that connection with that other person, develop rapport, right? Be more observant of actually the experience that's unfolding in front of you. You know, the less likely it is that you're going to succeed at what you're trying to do, because I feel like there's more power in the moment. There's more power of finding that flow and that connection than, you know, you being in that experience, but still being consumed by what's going on in your head.
Yeah. Jeannie, what comes up for you? Wait, you're muted.
My husband likes when I mute. I'm speaking his truth. However, being that I putting on different hats is what comes to me. Putting on different hats. Know that balancing and letting go of the rigidity. And I again, rigidity was a good thing for me, because flying by the seat of my pants wasn't working out. So again, it goes back to that balance. When do you need to be rigid? You got time restraints, you have this and we have that. And you need to add value to whether you're doing a training or whatever, and listen to who's in front of you. and be flexible to change from what you're doing to what maybe they need at the moment. And
Right.
reading that, and then that comes back down to staying present.
And now thank you for that, Jeannie. And now I remember what I also wanted to say, what Joshua said earlier. There's that scarcity mindset. If we think it has to go this way, and we go in with that rigidness, we come from a scarcity mindset. We come from a place of worry. I mentioned a conversation with my daughter and her friend on Saturday, and I said, look, you as teenagers, well, first of all, we got social media. That is a conversation for a whole nother time, and we can go, for hours on that. But you guys, as 14-year-olds, you live in a state of worry. Like, you worry of judgment, you worry what the other might think, there's always worry, and worry only happens in the future. Worry can never happen in the present moment. So if we stay present, we never go into state of worry, because we place something that might happen or might not happen in the scenario that we kind of lay out in our head and place it into the future. And then therefore, because we already had that thought of worry, as you know, my favorite formula, thoughts lead to feelings, feelings lead to actions, actions lead to results. That worry is actually manifested. What we're placing in the future as a worry, we're actually working towards too. So if we stay present, no worries, be happy. I love it. Sounds like a song.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it works, in that negative direction, gosh, can it work in the positive direction? I wonder what the master manifester on this call says to that, and that AKA Mia.
I'm
gonna say be free of scarcity mindset.
Yeah, about usually per my own experience and people around me, I did experience that when you are in scarcity mindset, usually you not only miss a lot around you, but you just go backwards, basically like going step backs. And a lot of times the scarcity can be because of lack of confidence, because of the fear, or because just you chose to be.
Yeah, there's a choice. Okay.
So definitely the scarcity doesn't serve anyone, especially yourself. And it's really usually sometimes it's even hard to recognize that, especially when you are the person doing it. So that's why it's also important to have, in a way, like a accountability buddy or
or a tribe like this one. Right?
Yes.
And you're right. Often we might not see it in ourselves, because it's so easy to see outward, in others' behavior, but then looking at our own. That's why everyone needs a coach. That's why I have coaches, right, that I work with, because it's all about being aware and drawing awareness and speaking it out and strategizing. That's what I do with my coach, and then staying flexible in the midst of it. And yeah, often Mia, you said it's a choice, maybe it's a choice due to not knowing what are other opportunities, what are other options. Often it's such an old behavior that we're not even aware. What are other behaviors? What are other ways that I can feel about this? What are other ways that I can do to actually have real choice?
I think
So
that's the power. I think that's the power of the work that we do. Is that you're 100% right. It's more often than not, it's a habituated response. We've conditioned ourselves to think a particular way. We've conditioned ourselves to perceive life in a specific way. And, neurologically, there is, the thoughts that we have in our mind are highly, highly repetitive. And for most people, they're highly, highly negative, where their outlook is, hey, what's the potential of this going bad? What's the potential of this not working out? What's the potential of failure, right? Because we have this tendency to be our own worst self-critics. And I think that's, the beauty and the power of NLP is to, really start to take a look at the science behind, how does this process manifest within me as a being? Like, how does it relate to the way that I think? And can I dig deep and take an introspective look at that and make, ecological changes to that, right? And so it becomes super, super powerful in helping people to open that door, right? And have that realization that, you're not trapped in your own thinking. You're not trapped, or you don't have to be trapped in this way of life that you've conditioned yourself to. You can take time and you can do the work to change, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience. So I just wanted to add that.
yeah, I agree with you 100%, Joshua. Thank you for that. And it's the ethical NLP work that we do that sets us apart, because each and every one that's on this call, and that's why we have these calls. And I think it was Joshua last week that said, I don't know of any other NLP community that has these ongoing calls. It's all about the work within us, so we can ethically help others do the work within them. Because if I choose not to do the work within me, but I teach you to do the work within you, that is out of integrity. That's incongruent. And that's where, and that's also a part of scarcity mindset, and where abundance will not be able to flow, because it's out of integrity. There's no, it's incongruent, right? So I love the work that we do. I find it fun. I find it, next word that comes up is holy. I don't know if you feel the same way, but for me, it's kind of sacred. And the people that I work with are very near and dear, each and every one on this call and on Facebook. If you're watching, I might not know you, but as I get to know you, I know that you'll be near and dear to my heart, because that's who I am. So I want you guys to think of a word that you would like for this week to stand over your week, to kind of follow you through this week, and type it in the chat box, please. And then also come out, and while you do that, we have the wind tunneling coming up starting tomorrow. So tomorrow starts at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Pacific time, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. We have a free 6-part course called Wind Tunneling Your Business, Creating Robust Strategies. And we do that with John Kurth and myself. So please tune in and share it with others. There's a Facebook event for that, and you're welcome to sign up for that. We have the master course that Joshua's helping me reach out to folks. So you might hear from Joshua as well. We have the master course starting July 20th. And then we have the practitioner course starting August 3rd. So we have some incredible courses coming up, and then I'm working on a power scripting course as well again. So we're gonna do the power scripting, firing on all 8 cylinders. And I know Angelina was probably watching the Facebook Live where the recording has also expressed some interest. So
yeah, I want to do that too. Power scripting.
Yeah, fantastic. So Mia, your word is
flexibility.
Love it. Jeannie, your word is
responsibility.
Responsibility. Yes. Joshua, your word?
Divinity.
Oh, beautiful. Great words. Let's see what comes up for me. Momentum comes up for me this week. Momentum. And as you're watching on Facebook Live and the recording, please share your word. We want to really create more energy around those words and help you, go through this week and be reminded of your word. And help you in any way, assist you in any way that we possibly can. We're a tribe. I'm here for you, and I know that this is probably true for everyone else. Reach out to us, and we'd be more than happy to assist you in any way that we possibly can, and that's in our power. So with that being said, thank you guys for being on this week, this Monday. Make it a great, great week. We have our next NLP Tribe coming up on Thursday at 8:30 with Joshua and Mia. Is that right?
That's correct.
That's correct.
Awesome. Thank you guys for being on. Make it a great week. Ciao,
All right, take care.
everyone.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye.